Happy summer, teachers of emergent bilinguals, and welcome to my blog, Linguistics for Teachers, at able.com. My name is Ingrid Heydrich, and today I want to talk to you about a plan for ENL standalone instruction. ENL, English as a New Language. I want to help you create a plan for this coming school year to propel your students toward academic success. I hope you've had a fantastic summer and that you feel rested and relaxed and ready to start the new school year. But of course, you might be feeling dread and anxiety. Teachers just don't get the support that they need, especially with their English learners. So my goal for this year is pretty ambitious. But without ambition, we can't move forward, right? I want to help you create a standards-based, evidence-based, theme-based, skills-based, and assessment-based plan that allows English learners to build the language, literacy, and content knowledge they need to learn in school. And it's going to start in the standalone classroom. So why am I so focused on standalone? Well, standalone meaning the dedicated time English learners have during their school day to study the language itself. In New York State, we call it standalone. In your state, you might call it something else. I believe that it is a content area in its own right. So let me emphasize that standalone instruction, New York City students get 180 minutes a week, is not a supplemental English language arts lesson. And ENL teachers, by virtue of teaching standalone, need a curriculum. And one of the huge problems in New York City and across the country is that there is no developed curriculum for standalone. And a lot of schools don't understand that it is a content area in its own right and that students need to learn linguistic skills in that content area. So when I talk about linguistic skills, I'm talking about the explicit instruction of vocabulary and world knowledge, phonics and morphology, as well as handwriting, grammar, and written expression. And I'm also talking about a scope and sequence of linguistic skills that you teach your students September through June, so that you know as you're going through your academic year that they are learning the basics of English that they are going to need to be able to succeed in their other content areas. So the first step in this process is choosing themes. And the reason for this is we can't teach language in a vacuum. Students need social and academic context for learning. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just teach skill after skill in isolation and have students study it and memorize it and use it? But unfortunately, that is not how language acquisition works. Students need to learn linguistic skills and make meaning as they're learning it, just like in other content areas. And so the first thing that we're going to do is choose some themes. As you can see here, I have chosen themes from language arts, social studies, and science that New York State has selected K through 8. Okay, the language arts themes are actually pre-K through 2. And what I would like you to think about is taking some of these themes and adapting them to your standalone classroom. And what I like about using themes from language arts, social studies, and science is that it gives our learners a chance to learn some content that they may have missed if they arrive in school, later. And everything that I'm doing now is kind of geared toward middle and high school. However, you can adapt what I'm doing to a younger classroom if needed. But the idea is that you look at some of these themes and ask yourself, what is interesting to my students? What sort of theme would they be interested in learning about? For example, we could talk about my community and other communities. We could talk about the community of our school, the community of New York City, or just that neighborhood. We could talk about water. We could talk about climate. We could talk about animals, right? We could talk about different kinds of animals, and you could create different themes September through June where you are going to embed the linguistic skills in the scope and sequence I'm going to help you with, so that your students are not just learning language, but they're also learning content. So in this week's post on able.com, I have provided you with a theme planner. Okay, so let me show you what my model is for you. So these are the months of the school year, okay, and I have adjusted these to take into account testing and days off and getting students settled at the beginning of the year. So if we think about September through October, right, approximately 4 to 5 weeks. November through December, we have approximately 3 to 5 weeks. January through February, 4 to 5 weeks. March through April is testing season, so I'm really only planning for 4 weeks. And May through June, approximately 6 weeks. Some of the themes that I have selected as sample themes is starting off with my school and my community. So in this first part of the school year, students become accustomed to their new school building and community. As we move forward, I might do a theme or a unit on New York City and the surrounding area, New York State, and perhaps a little bit also about the United States as a country. Once students have a sense of their immediate environment, we can expand their learning to include important aspects of New York City, New York State, and the US, or whatever state you happen to be in. January and February is right after the holidays, and this would be a nice time to do food and celebrations. Going forward into testing season, the spring. You know, this is also a wonderful time to do the season and climates around the world. This is a great time for students where they're going to have now a minimum of proficiency. They will better be able to perhaps describe the climate in their home countries, if they're older students, or the climate here in New York City, as well as the seasons. Finally, May through June, students have had a long year and everyone needs a little bit of inspiration. This might be a nice time to do a unit based on heroes. We can talk about real heroes, fictional heroes, and their stories. This might be a nice time for students to do a little bit of narrative reading and writing. So, if you go to my website, able.com, and look at this week's blog, which I've posted the link below, you'll have a chance to download this planner and start thinking about the themes that your students might possibly enjoy over the school year. Thank you so much for listening, teachers, and stay tuned for next week when I talk about how to set content objectives around these thematic units. I am going to help you step by step throughout this academic year. Plan out your units, your objectives, your skills, and your lesson plans. So I encourage you to stay tuned every week, and with each week I am going to help you, support you in this process so that you can see some advancement in your students' language, literacy, and content knowledge. Thanks, and see you soon.